Welcome to Sarah Wood's Tale, where stories comes alive. Please do well to hit that subscription button and turn on your notification bell for subsequent stories. Hilda Carter sat at her tiny kitchen table, staring at the stack of medical bills in front of her. The numbers seemed to taunt her, reminding her of a problem she couldn't solve. Her mother's condition was getting worse, and the hospital had made it clear, without full payment, treatment would stop. She sighed, rubbing her temples. Her job as a personal assistant barely covered rent, let alone the crushing expenses of hospital care. She needed a miracle. And then, her phone rang. Glancing at the caller ID, her breath caught in her throat. Eleanor Hastings. Hilda swallowed hard before answering. Hello. A smooth, commanding voice filled the line. Miss Carter, I need to see you. My driver will be there in 20 minutes. Hilda blinked. Excuse me. I assume you can follow simple instructions. Be ready. The line went dead. Hilda stared at her phone. Eleanor Hastings, the billionaire business mogul? Why would she want to see her? Her mind raced. She had met Eleanor Hastings exactly once, during an event at the company where she worked. They had exchanged brief pleasantries, but there was no reason for Eleanor to remember her. And yet, here she was, summoning Hilda like she was royalty. Hilda wasn't in a position to refuse. If nothing else, this was an opportunity. And opportunities were rare in her world. Exactly 20 minutes later, an expensive red Jeep pulled up outside her apartment. A uniformed chauffeur stepped out, his expression unreadable. This way, Miss Carter. Hilda hesitated, then climbed in. The leather seats felt like luxury itself, a sharp contrast to her reality. The ride was silent, smooth, and intimidating. The car eventually pulled up in front of a mansion so large it could house an entire city. The sheer wealth of it was overwhelming. A butler escorted her inside, leading her through grand hallways decorated with chandeliers and paintings that probably cost more than her entire existence. Finally, she was led into an opulent sitting room, where Eleanor Hastings sat with a cup of tea, poised like a queen. Miss Carter, Eleanor greeted without looking up. Sit. Hilda cautiously lowered herself onto the plush couch, her hands resting in her lap. Do you know why you're here? Eleanor asked, setting her teacup down with a soft clink. No, Hilda replied, keeping her voice steady. Eleanor studied her for a long moment. I need you to date my son. Silence. Hilda blinked. I'm sorry, what? Eleanor's gaze was sharp. You heard me. Hilda let out a short, nervous laugh. Is this a joke? I do not joke. Hilda shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Hastings, I don't understand. You want me to date your son. Why? Eleanor sighed, as if exhausted by the mere thought of him. Samuel is irresponsible, reckless, and completely useless as an heir. I have tried everything to make him take life seriously, but nothing works. He is content squandering his inheritance on parties, women, and expensive toys. I need him to change. Hilda frowned. And you think I can change him? Eleanor nodded. I've been watching you. You're intelligent, sharp-tongued, and immune to wealth. You are exactly the type of woman who won't fall for his charm or tolerate his nonsense. Hilda shook her head. And you think a fake relationship will magically fix him? Eleanor smiled. Not magically. But I believe the right influence can shape a man. You will challenge him, push him, make him uncomfortable. And he needs that. Hilda's mind was spinning. And what do I get in return? Eleanor leaned back, picking up her teacup again. $500,000. Hilda nearly choked on air. I'm sorry, what? $500,000, Eleanor repeated. And if you succeed in making Samuel take responsibility for his life, I'll double it. Hilda's heart pounded. That kind of money could change her life. It could pay off all her debts, cover her mother's medical bills, and give them a future she never dared to dream of. But this was insane. She took a deep breath. Mrs. Hastings, this is a very strange request. What if I say no? Eleanor shrugged. Then you leave, and we never speak of this again. But before you decide, ask yourself, how else will you get this kind of money? And how long will your mother's health hold up while you struggle? Hilda clenched her fists. It was a low blow, and they both knew it. But Eleanor was right. She exhaled slowly. If I do this, what's the plan? Eleanor's lips curled into a satisfied smile. Tomorrow night, there's a charity gala. Samuel will be there. You'll accidentally bump into him, and from there, you work your magic. Make him fall for you, challenge him, change him. Hilda hesitated one last time. This was crazy. But so was drowning in debt while her mother suffered. She lifted her chin and met Eleanor's piercing gaze. I'll do it. Eleanor nodded approvingly. Good. Welcome to the game, Miss Carter. Hilda Carter had braced herself for an insufferable experience when she agreed to date Samuel Hastings, but nothing could have prepared her for the sheer level of arrogance wrapped in an expensive designer suit. Their first meeting was nothing short of a disaster. She met him at an exclusive rooftop bar, where he lounged lazily in a private VIP section, surrounded by other rich, equally spoiled individuals who laughed too loudly at jokes that weren't funny. Samuel smirked the moment he saw her. You must be the lucky girl my mother picked out for me. Hilda rolled her eyes and sat down. Trust me, I wouldn't call myself lucky. The group around them gasped, unused to hearing someone talk to Samuel that way. He, on the other hand, seemed amused. I like you already, he chuckled. You're different. I'd rather be anywhere else, she replied dryly. He leaned in, his grin widening. Then why are you here, sweetheart? Hilda folded her arms. Because, unlike you, I don't have the luxury of walking away from money. Samuel laughed, clearly entertained. Fair enough. Samuel decided to take Hilda to a glamorous party, assuming she would be dazzled by luxury. Instead, she turned the entire evening into a roast session. This champagne is imported from a private vineyard in France, one of his wealthy friends boasted. Hilda took a sip and made a face. Tastes like overpriced regret. The group of socialites stared at her. Another girl flipped her designer purse onto the table. It's custom-made from an exclusive Italian brand. There are only 3 in the world. Hilda smirked. So, if I steal it, there's a 33% chance I'll get caught. Samuel, for the first time in his life, was speechless. He watched in awe as Hilda effortlessly tore through the pretentious conversations, exposing how ridiculous his friends sounded. By the end of the night, half of them were glaring at her while the other half seemed oddly fascinated. Samuel was both annoyed and impressed. You really don't care about impressing people, do you? Nope, she replied, popping a strawberry into her mouth. Try it sometime. Might be fun. The next time they went out, Hilda didn't give Samuel a choice. Instead of a fancy restaurant, she dragged him to a soup kitchen. Samuel frowned at the sight of volunteers handing out food. Why are we here? You eat, don't you? She asked. Thought it'd be nice to see what it's like to serve food instead of just ordering it. Samuel hesitated. I don't think I'm dressed for. Hilda threw an apron at him. Now you are. Samuel sighed, clearly uncomfortable, but followed her inside. It was the first time he had ever interacted with people who weren't wealthy. At first, he was awkward, hesitant to speak. But then, an elderly man grinned at him and said, You look like one of those fancy movie stars. You ever been in a film? Samuel chuckled. Not yet, but I think my mother would love that. As the evening went on, he found himself enjoying the conversations. For once, no one cared about his last name or his money. They just saw him as another volunteer. Later, as they walked out, he looked at Hilda. That was different. You survived, she teased. He nodded. Yeah, and I think I liked it. One day, Samuel surprised Hilda with an expensive diamond bracelet. She stared at it, unimpressed. Why? He smirked. Because you deserve something nice. Hilda sighed, then turned around and walked away. Where are you going? Samuel called after her. To sell it and donate the money. His jaw dropped. You're joking. She wasn't. A few hours later, Samuel checked his phone and saw the headline. Billionaire's girlfriend sells $50,000 bracelet to fund children's shelter. He groaned. You really enjoy torturing me, don't you? Hilda grinned. I like making you think. Samuel couldn't believe it. No one had ever turned down his gifts before. And yet, somehow, instead of being angry, he found himself intrigued. Samuel began to change, though he barely noticed it at first. Hilda made sure of that. One night, she made him take the subway with her instead of using his private driver. This is ridiculous, he muttered, gripping the pole as the train swayed. This is real life, she corrected. Another day, she forced him to cook his own dinner. I could just hire a chef, he complained. Or, she said, handing him an onion, you could learn a basic life skill. Samuel grumbled but complied. And slowly, something strange happened. He stopped resisting. He started paying attention. He even took it upon himself to apply for a job at his mother's company, as a low-level employee. When Eleanor found out, she was stunned. "You willingly took a job?" Samuel shrugged. "Thought I'd try something new." She narrowed her eyes. "This wouldn't have anything to do with Hilda, would it?" Samuel didn't answer, but the truth was obvious. He had changed, and he was falling for her. Samuel Hastings had never felt so betrayed in his entire life. The moment he discovered the truth, the world around him seemed to tilt. His mother's voice echoed in his head as he stood frozen in disbelief. "She was paid to be with you, Samuel." Those words cut deeper than he ever thought possible. He stormed out of his mother's office, his heart hammering in his chest. His mind was racing. Every memory he had with Hilda, every moment he thought was real, was suddenly tainted. The way she had challenged him, pushed him to become a better man. All of it. Was it just a job to her? By the time he reached Hilda's apartment, he was furious. He didn't bother knocking. He banged on the door until she answered. Hilda opened it, her face lighting up for a split second before she saw the storm brewing in his eyes. "Samuel, what's wrong?" He let out a bitter laugh. "What's wrong?" "Oh, I don't know, Hilda. Maybe the fact that my entire relationship with you was a lie." Her heart dropped. "Samuel, let me explain." He stepped inside, his expression dark. "Oh, please do. Explain to me how my mother paid you to date me. Explain how you stood there, looking me in the eyes, making me believe this was real." Tears welled up in Hilda's eyes. She had known this moment would come, but she hadn't expected it to hurt this much. It wasn't like that. At first, yes, I agreed to it. But what? He snapped. "You fell for me. Is that the part where I'm supposed to feel better?" She swallowed hard. "Yes, because it's the truth." Samuel shook his head. "You expect me to believe that? After everything?" She reached for his hand, but he pulled away as if her touch burned him. That hurt more than anything. "Samuel, listen to me," she pleaded. "Yes, your mother paid me, but it stopped being about the money a long time ago. I fell for you. The real you." He clenched his jaw, his body rigid with anger and pain. "And yet, you never told me." She looked down, ashamed. "I was scared." He let out a sharp breath and took a step back. "Yeah. Well, congratulations, Hilda. You did your job. You turned me into a responsible man. Hope the paycheck was worth it." Tears streamed down her face as she watched him walk away. She could have chased after him. She could have begged him to listen. But she didn't. Because deep down, she knew he needed to figure this out on his own. For weeks, Samuel shut himself off from the world. He stopped going to parties, stopped answering calls. His penthouse felt emptier than ever, and no amount of luxury could fill the void Hilda had left behind. He was angry. At his mother. At Hilda. At himself. But underneath the rage, there was something else, something he didn't want to admit. He missed her. He thought about their arguments, their adventures, the way she made him see the world differently. He had spent his whole life avoiding responsibility, hiding behind his wealth. But Hilda, she never let him. And he had changed. Because of her. Not his mother. Not the money. One evening, as he sat in his silent apartment, a thought struck him. Who am I without Hilda? The answer scared him. He realized he couldn't go back to the person he used to be. And more than that, he didn't want to. That night, he made a decision. Instead of drowning in self-pity, Samuel threw himself into work. But not at his mother's company. He wanted to build something of his own. He started small, an investment firm aimed at helping young entrepreneurs with great ideas but no resources. It wasn't just about money anymore. He wanted to make a real impact, to create something meaningful. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. He was used to luxury, to things being handed to him. But now, he was working late nights, making calls, meeting investors, and learning the grind from the ground up. It wasn't easy. But for the first time in his life, he felt proud of himself. Months passed, and slowly, his company started gaining traction. He wasn't just the billionaire's son anymore. He was Samuel Hastings, CEO of his own success. And yet, despite everything he had built, one thing was still missing. Hilda. He had learned what it meant to be responsible, to grow. But what was the point of becoming a better man if the woman who inspired it all wasn't there to see it? He knew what he had to do. And this time, he wouldn't let her walk away. Months had passed since Samuel walked away from Hilda, But not a single day went by without her crossing his mind. He had built something real, his own company, his own success, but it felt incomplete without her. So, he decided to do what he should have done a long time ago. Hilda had just finished her shift at the hospital where her mother was being treated when she heard whispers and gasps in the hallway. Confused, she followed the commotion, only to freeze in shock when she stepped into the waiting area. There, standing in front of a giant donation check, was Samuel. The check had her mother's name on it. $500,000. Gasps filled the room as nurses, patients, and visitors stared in awe. Journalists with cameras stood nearby, capturing the moment. Someone was even live streaming it. Hilda's heart pounded as Samuel grabbed a microphone. His eyes locked onto hers immediately, and for the first time in months, she saw something she hadn't expected: vulnerability. "This isn't just about the money," Samuel began, his voice strong but laced with emotion. "This is about someone who changed my life." A murmur spread through the crowd as people realized what was happening. Hilda covered her mouth in disbelief. "When I met Hilda," Samuel continued, "I was an arrogant, selfish idiot. I thought the world revolved around me. But she challenged me. She showed me what life is really about. She taught me how to be a better man. And like a fool, I pushed her away." The crowd was silent now, completely captivated. Samuel took a deep breath. "I was angry when I found out the truth about how we met. But the truth is, I was even more afraid of admitting how much she meant to me. And by the time I realized it, I had already lost her." Tears welled up in Hilda's eyes. She could barely breathe. "So, I'm here today, in front of all these people, to say I'm sorry," Samuel said, his voice breaking slightly. "Not just for how I treated you, but for not realizing sooner that I loved you." A collective gasp filled the room. Hilda's heart nearly stopped. Samuel smiled softly. "I love you, Hilda. And I don't care who hears it." He spread his arms. "I'll say it 100 times if I have to." The crowd erupted into cheers and applause. The moment was already trending online, with thousands watching live. The billionaire playboy turned self-made businessman confessing his love in the most dramatic way possible. The internet was eating it up. Hilda wiped away a tear but smirked. 100 times, huh? Samuel nodded. "If that's what it takes." She crossed her arms. "I don't know. You did break my heart." Samuel stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "And I'll spend every day making it up to you." Hilda stared at him, searching his face for any sign of insincerity. But there was none. He had changed. He wasn't just saying the right words, he meant them. She let out a shaky breath. "Well, I guess one grand romantic gesture deserves another." Samuel raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Hilda smiled. "Shut up and kiss me, Hastings." The crowd went wild as Samuel pulled her into his arms and kissed her, deeply, passionately, as if the world around them didn't exist. Flashbulbs went off. Cheers echoed through the halls. The internet exploded with reactions. Somewhere in the background, Eleanor Hastings watched with a proud smile. Her crazy plan had worked after all. And for the first time in his life, Samuel Hastings didn't just feel rich. He felt whole. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to get more interesting stories like this.